Welcome to the Ultimate USB version 2.1. In this video, I want to slow down a bit and really talk about exactly what this is. I've been working on these projects for the Ultimate USBs and Bootable USBs for a couple years now, and I still have friends and family that say, hey, that's really cool that you're doing your thing, but I don't really understand what this is. Is it a USB flash drive? And I'm trying to be nice and not be offended when they ask me that, but I do reply often with calling this a USB flash drive is like calling planet Earth a rock. Yeah, technically, sure, at its core bare minimum, it's a rock and this is a flash drive. Actually, it's called a portable SSD in this case. But there's so much more to it. So that's why I wanted to take a little bit of time in this video and kind of talk through what exactly makes this the ultimate tech tool, aka the Ultimate USB version 2.1, that is. Okay, so if you get one of these, if you purchase one or build your own or whatever, this is what you're going to see when you boot up. So just to show you the whole experience, I'm going to go ahead and reboot, and then we'll have a Ventoy menu. So I'm going to go to Power, and I'm going to reboot. I do password protect the Ultimate USB version 2.1. If you want to remove the password, that's fine, but I do give you the password when I send these out. So do that for a couple reasons. It's not the end-all be-all security, but it is a layer of security, as you guys know. Protection and depth, right? So layers is key, because you can save your work on here. There's many operating systems that have persistence built in, so you could save files, install applications, all that stuff, and it'll be right there when you reboot. So yes, you put it in, you're going to choose to boot from USB, hit enter, and then you will go ahead and enter that password that I supply, and you'll be brought to the main menu. So what do we have? We have a whole bunch of categories, and in each one we have a whole bunch of bootable environments. Starting from the top, antivirus and rescue. Now, if you're in IT or you're just, a tech by hobby, you'll know that malware removal and scanning and things like that are a necessity in this day and age. So there's two here. One thing to note is a lot of the WinPE environments are going to have great tools for this as well. So this is not an end-all be-all section, but this is, hey, I just need to get in there and scrub down this operating system or scrub down this disk. I think there may be malware on there. You've got two solid solutions in Avira's rescue system and Dr. Webb's Live. So if you need to just help a friend out, or maybe you think you might have picked something up on your PC, you'll want to boot into one of those two. And what that does is your hard drive itself on your laptop or PC is not booted yet, and therefore you're able to get an entire scan on everything. Because sometimes when you boot, there could be things that are, rootkits, things that are hidden, and they kind of come to life after the fact and hide themselves when the OS boots. This is a layer beyond that to where you're scanning the disk when the disk is not even booted. So you're able to get in there and really scrub the operating system with that methodology. Okay, next up, desktop operating systems. So again, you put this in and you can boot into any of these that you choose. So think about it like this. You have 50 plus, I won't say computers, but you have 50 plus environments in your pocket that you can carry around. And a lot of these, again, you can save your work, install applications, download things, customize them, and it all saves. So no matter where you take that flash drive, you can plug it in at home, plug it in at work, plug it in at a friend's house, and all your stuff is there just like you're carrying a full-blown computer around in your pocket. Okay, so on desktops, we have a whole bunch of Linux operating systems, and then we're going to have one very special instance of Windows on here. So we do have Debian, that's the newest version as of creating this stick, Elementary OS, we've got Garuda Linux, Linux Mint, Manjaro GNOME, MX Linux, Pop OS, Ubuntu, Windows 11 Pro Lite by antiX, big fan of his by the way, and Zorin OS. So like I said, almost all of these have persistence built in. The exception is the Windows 11 Pro Lite by antiX. This is a fully installed machine. So there's no need for a persistence DAP file if you're familiar with that. These are all live operating systems. You can run them and not save your work and just kind of, boot into a fresh environment every time, or you can choose to boot with persistence. Now, when I continue this series, I'll be covering each category one at a time, and we'll look at that persistence. I'll talk about how you can modify or grow your persistence files, demonstrate what gets saved, and all that good stuff. But in this case, I created a virtual hard disk on my PC, and I installed this Pro Lite version of Win11, which is similar to like a Tiny 11. I think it's even better because the guy who does antiX is super sick. I mean, he puts some nice tools on there, makes it look really slick, and it's super lightweight, by the way. It's way faster than your bloated out of the box Windows 11 environment. I use QEMU, to extract that VHD in a format, like a raw format that's compatible with booting from Ventoy. There is another layer to that. You have to add a little plug-in to your Ventoy stick. I've covered that in some other videos. But yes, just know that this one is very special. I have included artificial intelligence large language models installed on there. I've also included a Python IDE PyCharm that's pre-installed on there, so you can use DeepSeek or Llama. I believe those are the two that I put on there with Jan AI as an interface. And you can chat with those without being connected to the internet. They're local large language models that run directly on the USB drive. And then you have your IDE. So, of course, you can ask AI anything you want, but maybe you're trying to write a Python program. If you want to do it by yourself, that's fine. But today, I would definitely recommend using AI to assist you with coding. So you'll have that at your fingertips no matter where you are, whether you're on network, off network, doesn't matter. You can talk to AI, and then you have your IDE there to build out your custom Python programs. Okay, so that should give you an idea from a productivity, testing, whatever you want to do, right? You can boot into any of these environments on top of your PC or laptop. What do I mean by on top of? Well, you're not going to be booting into your operating system. You're going to boot from the stick, and then this will run directly from the stick. Now, that should also give you access to the local drive on your PC. So, you can use WinPE and fancy recovery tools, but one of the first ways I ever recovered files was just booting into a Linux environment from a USB drive on a Windows laptop and then accessing that Windows operating system volume and getting whatever I needed off of there because it wouldn't boot, right? So you can do that from basically any of these because you'll see that disk. Now, if it's encrypted with BitLocker, that's another story, but yeah. Okay, so that was desktop operating systems. Now you have Flyweights. So this is very powerful because a lot of people have old PCs. They could be 10, 15 years old, and they basically think they're garbage at that point, right? They're like, man, I paid $1,000 for this 10 years ago, and now it's basically unusable. I can't upgrade to the newest Windows. I'm sitting on Windows 7, and it's 2025. I guess I should just throw it away, get the hard drive destroyed, etc., and get rid of this. I would say, hold on a second. Have you tried any of the lightweights, aka the flyweights, as I like to call them? There's some really powerful operating systems that are blazing fast that take minimal resources, and they're going to run on legacy hardware. antiX, Bodhi, Bookworm Pup, aka Puppy Linux, and Peppermint OS are good examples of this category. You can boot right into these live, or if you wanted to, you can boot into them live and then choose to install them. So if you have a really old piece of hardware that you're thinking about getting rid of, maybe you should put it out in your garage or in a spare room or something like that and have a workstation that's running one of these Flyweight Linux. Also, you can look at some of the stripped down versions of Windows, but usually the requirements are a little bit higher on those. So that's why I wanted to include this category. You can, again, try out all four of these. If you find one you like on that old piece of hardware that you're booting into, go ahead and install it. Forensics. Now this is for the cyber fanatics, right? Maybe you're on the blue team and you're trying to figure out how someone got in, what damage was done, and get any evidence that you possibly can. You're going to want to run one of these forensic live boot tools. I've included CAINE 13, DepthZ, and Paladin Edge. These are a little more advanced, so I'm not going to go over them in this video, but we will do a tutorial on this section as I continue the series. Just know that if you needed to perform any forensics, you have that tool or those tools baked right into the stick. And then you have games, because after a hard day of coding and talking to AI robots and, booting up all your flyweights, you may need a little downtime where you're going to play some games. So I've included Batacera and I've also included Laka. Now these are similar if you're familiar with like RetroPie or MAME, where you have emulators that can run a whole bunch of different games and systems. These can do the same thing. And Laka actually comes with a few games pre-installed, as does Batacera, but you can load any type of ROMs on here, any type of emulators, and you'll have a full-blown arcade at the end of the day. Again, right there on your USB. So Laka comes with a homebrewed version of Minecraft, and it's actually pretty good. It's not bad. And I was shocked at just how fluid it is, right? I mean, this is a super high performance drive, so as long as you have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 port that'll support the high speeds of this up to 1,000 megabits per second, you're going to get amazing performance out of this. So that's games. Next up, we have hypervisors. Now, if you're not into IT or super technical, you probably won't worry about this, but you may have heard of virtual machines. These are kind of what they sound like, virtual instances of hardware. So they emulate the hardware and you can run multiple virtual machines on one hypervisor, so to speak. And these are some open source free options to do so. So Open Media Vault, Proxmox, and then XCP-NG. Now the big boys out there are of course, VMware and Hyper-V, but I've been a VMware guy for the last 15 years, and I gotta say, since Broadcom bottom out, they're really going down the toilet. But that's a whole nother video. And now we have miscellaneous tools. So again, maybe you're an IT repair guy, or maybe you're just the family IT guy that everyone calls when they need help with their computer. Well, now you've got a whole bunch of stuff at your disposal. So you have a boot repair disk. So if you're having troubles with, boot records, or you just can't boot for whatever reason, this will help you diagnose and possibly fix it in a lot of cases. Maybe you need to clone a drive. It's one of my favorite cloning tools, open source, Clonezilla Live. Gparted. I can't tell you how many times this has saved my butt. Moving around partitions, resizing them, doing all kinds of magic stuff with Gparted. And then ShredOS. Like I was talking about earlier, maybe you have a really old PC, or maybe you're selling your computer, or you're returning it and you have personal information on there. A lot of people are under the impression just delete the files and empty the recycle bin and nothing else to worry about. You couldn't be further from the truth, my friend. When you delete a file and even empty the recycle bin, guess what? It didn't go anywhere. It's still sitting there. It's just marked as, hey, I can use this part of the hard drive to write to again. So anyone with tools like what I have on this USB, for example, can get access to those files. So how do you actually get rid of data on a hard drive? Essentially, there's two ways. The most effective would be to have that drive destroyed, where they actually drill holes through it. And the second is to do a DoD style wipe, where you're going to write to the entire drive. You're going to write ones, zeros, whatever it is. You can select the patterns. A lot of arguments out there, how many passes do you need? Actually, I think one is fine, but either way, if you use a tool like ShredOS, it's going to make sure that nothing is recoverable on that hard drive. So again, if you're selling it, or if you're returning it to the store, or maybe you're handing it down to a family member, something like that, and you want to make sure, hey, just in case they can't ever discover anything I had on here, you're going to want to use a tool like ShredOS. Okay, so next up we have MultiTools. This is your WinPE stuff. So again, obviously a big fan of AnkTech. I still don't know how to say it, but the guy's really awesome. Check out his website too. It's I'll link it in the description for AnkTech. So this is his emergency operating system v6, and then AnkTech WinPE v12. Huron's Boot CD. That's one that a lot of people have probably heard of. Huron's Boot CD and Metacat. Those are very popular out there. All of these are similar to that. They just have different layouts, different tools, different user interfaces. Some of them are more robust than others, and some of them are going to be lighter weight and things like that. But these are great environments to boot into to help repair, diagnose, test, benchmark, all that good stuff. Copy files down, upload things to, repair registries, whatever you need to do, reset passwords, all that good stuff. A lot of these environments are going to be jam-packed with every tool you'll need to take care of whatever the issue might be. Metacat, one of the best ones out there. It's huge though, 28 gigs. RescueZilla, Sergey Strelec, and then we have SystemRescue and just a vanilla version straight from Microsoft of WinPE. All right, backing it up here, we're going to go to our next category, which is network. And really only one in here, but if you are a die-hard networker, network engineer, network admin, you've probably heard of pfSense and OpenSense. pfSense no longer offers a bootable instance, so OpenSense it is. This is an open source solution which can be used as a software-based firewall, router, all that good stuff. So again, if you're not super technical or into networking, you probably won't use this, but it's on there should you need to build a kick-ass firewall/router. All right, pen testing. This is where a lot of people kind of gravitate towards when we start talking about IT. It's really hot. There's a lot of money in this field still. It's not going anywhere. Especially with AI out now, there's AI-based offensive security and pen testing tools. But if you're not familiar with it, this is essentially how you would ethically hack into something. These are the type of tools you would use for password cracking, all that kind of stuff, all those buzzwords that you might hear about when you hear about cybersecurity. These are some of the tools that the professionals are using to perform their vulnerability assessments and penetration tests. So you have Athena, BackBox, BlackArch, Fedora Security, that is, Kali Linux, which is, I know, call me a fanboy, probably still my favorite, Parrot, which is an amazing, well-rounded OffSec OS, and then Pen2 Core. So again, if you're not into OffSec, or maybe you're just curious about it, these are awesome tools for you to check out. And with Kali Linux on there, I did create persistence, so you could be doing, a vulnerability assessment or a pen test, and maybe you're done for the day. You can save your work, your notes, all that good stuff. Maybe you've installed some additional applications or downloaded some word lists or dictionaries or whatever. You can save them on there and boot back from the USB, and guess what? They'll be there the next time you boot. All right, the next one is privacy and security. Some of these are just overwhelmingly secure operating systems, and people hate them, but they do have a purpose, right? So they're on here. These are very stripped down, very secure, and very anonymous, built for anonymity. I guess the word is anonymity. I always have trouble saying that. One that a lot of people have probably heard of is Tails. So have you ever wondered about the dark web and wanted to check it out, but you're very afraid? I would recommend checking out my video on Tails, and definitely pick up a stick with Tails on it, because you're not going to want to go on the dark web. I wouldn't recommend it anyway. From your PC, I would use one of these stripped down secure operating systems. But yeah, we have Network Security Toolkit, Kadashi, PureOS, Cubes, RoboLinux, and we have Tails. Again, probably not for the super non-technical folks, but again, if you're curious, recommend checking out that video on Tails and the dark web. Kind of a getting started on the dark web safely. I use that in air quotes there, safely, tutorial. All right, next one's going to be server operating systems. These are some great ones. We have Fedora Server, OpenSUSE. We have Rocky 9. So Rocky 9 is pretty much I would say the closest thing to a replacement of CentOS or CentOS, since they're not going to make that anymore. TrueNAS. So maybe you want to set up a little NAS, network attached storage in your environment. You can use TrueNAS, which is open source. And then, of course, Ubuntu Server. All right, and the last one I have on here, these are not bootable, but this is going to be a directory where you can access Windows installation media. So if you need to get your hands on installation media to either repair, reinstall, or fresh install Windows 10, I put it on there because I know a lot of you guys still hate Windows 11. It's grown on me, I'm not going to lie. Especially if you check out like Tiny 11 or the Onktech Pro Lite 11, those are, it makes it way more like a regular desktop again and not a billboard for advertisements. But this is where you'll go if you need to install Windows 11 or Windows 10, and then I did put the Windows 11 24H2 Onktech version 2 on there, which is sick. Check it out. All right, so like I said, hopefully this helps. I did want to make this video to explain and try to break down what this solution is, what this product is that I put out there, who it probably appeals to. So if you have friends that are interested in tech, maybe you have relatives or friends or loved ones that are getting into IT, maybe they're starting school or they've been in it. This is a great, well-rounded, all-in-one solution that they can really learn a lot from. And not only learn, but they can use this on a day-to-day basis. So if you need to take a desktop operating system with you because you're not allowed to use certain things at school or work or wherever it is, as long as you can boot from a flash drive, you can do whatever you want. This is your personal operating system on all of these. And you can save your work. If you need to remove some malware, we've got you covered on that. If you've got some old hardware, we got some Flyweights in the lineup that you can easily boot to live, check them out, and if you like them, install them on that computer that you were going to throw away. Forensics, you want to see who did what and capture a forensic image and gather evidence? Well, there you go. Maybe you're a gamer. You want to play some homebrew games or load your own ROMs. You do whatever you want there. You've got a full-blown retro arcade and some homebrew stuff as well on 2 different flavors. Hypervisors, are you into VMs? Well, you've got 3 choices for some sweet open source, not VMware because they're going downhill, like I said, since Broadcom. Hypervisors. Miscellaneous tools, like I said, these are some game-changing lifesavers here. Gparted, again, I can't tell you how many times that saved my butt. Clonezilla. WinPE, we talked about all those. Networking, pen testing, have a lot of fun with that one for sure. Do it responsibly though. Privacy and security, you want to surf the dark web and do it safely, check that out, and definitely check out that video I have on Tails. Server OS, and then Windows install. So I don't know what this stick is missing. I don't think it's really missing much of anything. It's incredibly well-rounded. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope this answered some questions for those who, ask me, like, what is this thing, dude? Like, what does it do? Why would I want it? Who's it for? Yeah, and not to mention, guys, this is a Transcend ESD 310C USB 3.2 Gen 2 flash drive. So it's not like I've created this masterpiece and put it on a $5 USB from Alibaba. No, these are some of the best drives that you can get your hands on today with both USB-A and USB-C interfaces, and they are solid. They have a 5-year manufacturer warranty. I haven't seen one fail yet since I've been making these, and they are fast and super reliable. All right, guys, I will put the link to the shop in the description. Get over there and check it out. Let me know what you guys think. And again, I'm going to make a series covering each one of these, or I should say most of these, at least categories. We'll dive into the different images, talk about how to interact with them, what to do with them, use cases, etc., etc. All right, appreciate you tuning in, sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you all have a great day, and until the next video, take care, everybody.